Just this morning, it was announced that a New York appeals court has thrown out the $500 million judgment against President Trump for the fraud that he very much committed in his business there in that state. And the interesting thing about this is that while that is gone, at least for now, could return, we'll see. The judges really seemed torn about what they wanted to do on this case. And that makes this a particularly spicy bit of breaking news, as you're gonna see. So one of the judges, Peter Moulton, says, while harm certainly occurred, let's pause there. The harm occurred because Donald Trump did commit fraud, to be clear. It was not the cataclysmic harm that can justify a nearly $500 million award to the state. So they're basically saying they did do harm, but the fine against him was too significant. And although it took right up until the beginning of the show, Donald Trump finally did respond to this with this message, which, if we could bring this up, yeah, no, I'm not gonna read that. That's way too much. He's the president of the United States, and he wrote 5,000 delirious, deranged words in response to a legal judgment. Was there nothing going on? I thought you were trying to bring peace between Ukraine and Russia. But anyway, it says something about fake news. My eyes are glossing over. It cost him a bunch of money or whatever. And he says it's a total victory. And that's the only part that matters here, because it very much was not a total victory. They vacated the fine for now. Again, this will be appealed, likely to New York's highest court. But it did not actually, it didn't grant Donald Trump his bid to throw out the case entirely, which means that the verdict still stands. He still committed fraud, and he will be fined something. And by the way, there were non-monetary parts of this as well, in terms of their ability to sit on boards and those sorts of things. Again, he did it. And by the way, the area where I disagree with the judges most is that the fine is too much, because how could it possibly be that much damage? Well, like if Letitia James or the Judge Engeron or whatever are throwing around big numbers, that's just the pattern that was set by Donald Trump and his organization, because they overvalued his assets between $812 million and $2.2 billion and reaped massive rewards for that fraud. The $500 million is a tiny fraction of the fraud that they actually committed. And again, that part is still upheld. We'll see what happens when the state Supreme Court gets to it. But Yaz, what do you make of this?
Yeah, this is why Trump even wanted his second presidential term, isn't it? He was always escaping some kind of accountability. If he wasn't president right now, there is a non-zero chance that he could have been in jail right now. We don't know, but he had a lot of things that were kind of creeping up, coming over his back trying to get him. And then he was like, but if I'm president, they can't touch me. And then on top of that, the Supreme Court said, well, you can't be tried for anything you did as president. So that didn't help. But this wasn't Trump himself. This was a Trump organization that was being sued and that was found guilty of falsifying documents. And it's particularly frustrating because this was a very hard-won victory. It took up a lot of news cycles. It took up a lot of headlines. People were invested in this story. Trump and his company were obviously complicit in cooking some of their books, right? And they said it basically that it was because they wanted to inflate their real estate values so that they would get better kickbacks for all of that. And they did it with intent, And so once all of that was determined, and that took a long time through various court cases, through various hearings and things like that. It was a long time. And then all of that at the end of it, it's just like, it just gets overturned because Trump doesn't want to deal with it anymore. This isn't justice. This isn't the way our justice system is supposed to work. And it also calls our credibility into question, right? Our entire Department of Justice is not credible anymore because the things that they decide, the precedents that they set are meaningless at this point, right? Because all of it just comes down to what Trump wants. And I just want to remind people that the DOJ is not supposed to work for the president.
Yep.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is not supposed to work for the president, right? These are supposed to be independent people who are serving the country, not the president. And I feel like people have forgotten that because this is just a new normal. People are, they call her Trump's AG because that is very much what she is.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I'll end with this. I know that this is probably frustrating for most people that watch the show. It's frustrating for me. It's like, great, Another thing, the tiny bit of justice that we got, no, it gets reversed. And like, yeah, it's easy to get very frustrated by that. I would say to the extent that you can, develop a worldview of just letting it wash over you. It is really just another reminder that our society is fundamentally set up in a way that benefits the elites. That's all it is. This is proof of what conservatives think they believe in regards to the Democrats. It's just set up to benefit their guy and their organizations, literally making them above the law. And it's gonna happen over and over and over again. That counter's still got a long way to go. In the end, hopefully we win the more significant battles, and Donald Trump is not long for this world anyway, as Alex Jones is gonna describe very soon. But it's a reminder that they think on their side that we're the ultimate victims. The deep state, because like Trump will lose an election in 2020 or something. They'll think that that's evidence of, no, this is evidence. This is, if there's any deep state, it's the deep legal state that protects the wealthy, the well-connected from the consequences of even their most transparent crimes and frauds.